Before the world gets loud, before your phone starts buzzing, before doubts creep in and try to tell you who you are, give yourself these 20 minutes. Because this moment, right here, can shape the entire direction of your day. You don't need motivation from the outside. You need a reminder from within. A reminder that you are not here to live small, to settle, or to repeat yesterday's limitations. You are here to rise, to grow, to become something more than what fear once allowed. So as you listen, don't just hear the words, feel them. Let them sink into your mind, your heart, your identity. This is your time to reset, to refocus, and to reclaim your power, because the way you begin your morning is the way you begin your life. You ever notice how the first few minutes after you wake up quietly decide the tone of your entire day? It's like your mind is soft clay in that moment. Whatever you press into it, whatever thoughts you allow, they shape everything that follows. Most people don't realize this. They wake up, grab their phone, scroll through noise, compare their lives, absorb stress, and then wonder why the day feels heavy before it even begins. But you're here, and that means you're choosing something different. You're choosing to take control. The power of your morning mindset isn't some abstract idea. It's real, it's practical, and it's something you can feel instantly when you get it right. Because when you wake up and intentionally guide your thoughts, you stop being a reaction to the world and start becoming the creator of your experience. Instead of letting circumstances tell you how to feel, you decide who you're going to be before anything else gets a say. Think about it. If the first thing you tell yourself in the morning is, "I'm tired," "I don't feel like it," or "today is going to be hard," your mind immediately starts looking for proof. It begins filtering your reality through that lens. Small inconveniences feel bigger. Opportunities pass unnoticed. Your energy drops. But if you flip that script, even if it feels unfamiliar at first, and you say, "Today is mine, I'm capable, I'm ready," something shifts. Your mind starts working for you instead of against you. This isn't about pretending life is perfect. It's about choosing your starting point, because your starting point matters more than your circumstances. Two people can face the same situation, and the one with the stronger morning mindset will always have the edge, not because life is easier for them, but because they've trained themselves to respond differently. And here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Your mindset is a habit. It's something you practice, whether you realize it or not. Every morning you either reinforce doubt, hesitation, and negativity, or you reinforce confidence, clarity, and direction. There's no neutral ground. You're always conditioning your mind. That's why these 20 minutes matter so much. This is where you interrupt the default patterns. This is where you stop living on autopilot and start becoming intentional. You don't need hours, you don't need perfection, you just need consistency. Because when you show up for your mind every single morning, even when you don't feel like it, you start building something powerful. Trust in yourself. And that trust changes everything. It changes how you walk into a room. It changes how you speak. It changes the risks you're willing to take. It changes the way you handle setbacks. You stop questioning your worth every time something doesn't go your way, because you've already decided who you are before the day began. The powerful thing is, your mind doesn't argue with repetition. It accepts what you consistently give it. So if every morning you feed it strength, belief, and intention, eventually that becomes your default. You don't have to force confidence. It starts to feel natural. You don't have to chase motivation. It starts to live inside you. But it starts here. It starts in these quiet moments when no one is watching, when it's just you and your thoughts. This is where the real work happens. Not in the noise, not in the applause, not in the big moments, but right here, in the decision to take control of your morning. So don't rush through this. Don't treat it like just another routine. Treat it like a commitment to yourself. Because every time you choose a powerful morning mindset, you're sending a message, not just to your mind, but to your life, that you're no longer available for doubt, for excuses, for playing small. You're stepping into something bigger, and it begins the moment you decide that your mind works for you, not against you. What if the thoughts you've been repeating every day aren't even truly yours? What if they're just patterns you picked up, voices from the past, moments of doubt? things people said that you quietly accepted as truth. Because here's the thing most people never question: the mind runs on repetition, not accuracy. It doesn't care if a thought is empowering or limiting, it only cares how often you think it. And over time, those repeated thoughts become beliefs, and those beliefs quietly shape your entire life. Rewiring your thoughts isn't about forcing yourself to be positive all the time. It's about becoming aware enough to interrupt the patterns that no longer serve you. Because if you don't, your mind will keep playing the same old script on repeat. The same doubts, the same fears, the same stories about why you can't, why you shouldn't, why it's too late or too hard. And the more you hear that script, the more it feels real. But here's where your power begins. You can change the script. It starts with something simple, but not always easy: noticing. Noticing what you say to yourself when things don't go your way. Noticing the automatic reactions, the quiet assumptions, the inner dialogue that runs in the background. Most people never pause long enough to hear it, which is why it controls them. But the moment you become aware of it, you create space. And in that space, you have a choice. You can keep reinforcing the same thought, or you can choose a different one. Now let's be real. Your mind won't instantly agree with you. If you've spent years thinking a certain way, one new thought isn't going to magically override everything. But that's not the goal. The goal is consistency. The goal is repetition in a new direction. Because just like your old thoughts were practiced into existence, your new ones can be too. Think of it like this: every thought you repeat is like laying down a path. The more you walk it, the clearer and easier it becomes. Right now, your mind is used to certain paths. Doubt might be familiar. Overthinking might feel automatic. But when you start introducing new thoughts, stronger, more intentional ones, you're creating new paths. At first, they feel unfamiliar, maybe even uncomfortable. But with time and repetition, they become your new normal. And this is why your mornings matter so much. Because when your mind is fresh, it's more open, more receptive, less crowded with the noise of the day. This is your opportunity to intentionally plant the thoughts you want to grow. Not randomly, not passively, but on purpose. Instead of letting your mind drift, you guide it. You speak to yourself in a way that builds you, not breaks you. You remind yourself of who you're becoming, not who you used to be. And even if a part of you resists at first, you keep going, because you understand something most people overlook. Change doesn't happen in one moment. It happens in repeated moments. Rewiring your thoughts is a process, but it's a powerful one, because once your thinking changes, everything else begins to follow. Your actions start to shift. Your decisions become clearer. The way you see challenges evolves. Things that once felt impossible start to feel doable, not because the world changed, but because you did. And here's something important. You don't have to believe every new thought right away. You just have to be willing to practice it. Belief comes later. It grows through repetition, through experience, through showing up for yourself again and again. So don't wait until it feels natural. Do it until it becomes natural. Because the truth is, your mind is always listening. It's always learning from you. Every thought you repeat is teaching it something about who you are and what's possible for you. So if you've been feeding it doubt, hesitation, or fear, it's simply doing what it was trained to do. But now you're choosing to train it differently. You're choosing to take control of the narrative. You're choosing to rewrite the story. And that doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen one thought at a time. So as you move through this day, remember this: you are not your old patterns. You are not stuck with the thoughts you inherited or repeated in the past. You have the ability right now to think differently, and in doing so, to live differently. And it all begins with the thoughts you choose to repeat today. Who you believe you are quietly controls everything you do. Not your goals, not your plans, not even your motivation, but your identity. Because at the end of the day, you will always act in alignment with the person you think you are. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your self-image. And that's why so many people stay stuck, not because they lack ability, but because deep down, they haven't truly claimed a new version of themselves. Most people are trying to change their life without changing their identity. They say they want success, confidence, growth, but inside they still see themselves as someone who hesitates, someone who doubts, someone who starts but doesn't finish. And that internal contradiction creates resistance. It's like trying to move forward with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. Claiming your identity is about removing that conflict. It's about deciding clearly and unapologetically who you are becoming, and then starting to think, speak, and act from that place. Not someday, not when things are perfect, but now. Because identity isn't built by waiting, it's built by choosing. Think about the way you talk to yourself, the labels you use, the quiet statements you repeat without even noticing. I'm not disciplined. I'm not confident. I'm just not that kind of person. Those words might feel harmless, but they're shaping your reality. Every time you repeat them, you're reinforcing an identity that keeps you where you are. But the moment you challenge those labels, something shifts. The moment you say, "No, that's not who I am anymore," you begin to create space for something new. Not because everything magically changes, but because you've made a decision, and that decision starts influencing everything else. Now, here's the part that most people struggle with. You won't always feel like this new version of yourself right away. In fact, at first, it might feel uncomfortable. It might feel like you're pretending, but that discomfort isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're growing. You're stepping outside of what's familiar, and your mind is adjusting. The key is to keep showing up as that version of yourself anyway. You don't wait to feel confident before you act. You act in a way that builds confidence. You don't wait to feel disciplined. You make small choices that reflect discipline. You don't wait to believe in yourself. You start behaving like someone who does. And over time, those actions begin to align with your identity. The gap closes. What once felt unfamiliar starts to feel natural. This is how real change happens. Not through one big moment, but through consistent alignment, through the daily decision to be the person you said you would become, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one else sees it. And here's something powerful. Your identity isn't fixed, it's flexible. It's shaped by what you repeatedly do and what you consistently believe, which means no matter where you are right now, you have the ability to redefine it. You're not stuck with who you were yesterday. You're not limited by past mistakes or old patterns. Those things only have power if you keep identifying with them. But the moment you choose a new identity and you start reinforcing it through your thoughts and actions, the past begins to lose its grip. This is why your mornings matter so much, because this is your chance to step into that identity before the world tries to pull you back into old habits. This is your chance to remind yourself, this is who I am now. Not as a wish, not as a hope, but as a decision. And when you carry that decision into your day, everything changes. The way you respond to challenges, the way you handle pressure, the way you treat yourself, it all starts to reflect that new identity. So don't underestimate this moment. Don't treat it like just another routine. This is where you define yourself. This is where you take ownership of who you are becoming. Because once you truly claim your identity, you stop asking for permission, you stop waiting for proof, you stop looking outside for validation, you move differently, you think differently, you live differently, not because someone told you to, but because it's who you are. And the most powerful part is this: when you change who you believe you are, you change what you believe is possible. So decide, right here, right now, who are you? And more importantly, are you ready to start living like it? How much of your life has been shaped by things you once believed but never questioned? Not facts, beliefs, quiet assumptions like, I'm not good enough, people like me don't succeed, or it's too late for me. They don't announce themselves loudly. They sit in the background, guiding your decisions, influencing your actions, shrinking your vision without you even realizing it. And over time, those limitations start to feel like truth. But they're not truth, they're learned. Every limitation you carry was picked up somewhere, through experiences, failures, comparisons, or even someone else's opinion that you accepted without realizing it. And because you've repeated those thoughts for so long, they've become familiar, comfortable even. There's a strange kind of safety in staying within the boundaries you've always known, even if those boundaries are holding you back. Letting go of limitations isn't about flipping a switch and suddenly becoming fearless. It's about recognizing that the walls you've been living inside were never permanent to begin with. They were built by thought, reinforced by repetition, and accepted without question. And anything built that way can be taken apart the same way. The first step is awareness. You have to notice the limits before you can release them. Pay attention to the moments when you pull back, when you hesitate, when you talk yourself out of something before you even try. Listen closely to the reasons you give yourself. I can't, I'm not ready, what if I fail? Those aren't just passing thoughts, they're signals. They're showing you exactly where your limitations live. And instead of accepting them, you challenge them. You ask yourself, is this actually true, or is this something I've just been repeating? Because most of the time, when you really look at it, you'll realize there's no solid proof behind it, just habit, just a story you've been telling yourself for so long that it feels real. And once you see that something shifts, you begin to understand that your limitations aren't fixed. They're flexible. They don't define you. They reflect what you've practiced thinking. And if you can practice thinking in one direction, you can practice thinking in another. But here's where it gets real. Letting go of limitations requires you to step into the unknown. It means doing things that feel uncomfortable, uncertain, even a little scary. Because every time you move beyond a limitation, you're stepping outside of what's familiar. And your mind will try to pull you back. It will try to convince you to stay where it's safe. This is where most people stop. They mistake discomfort for a sign to retreat. But discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the doorway. It's the signal that you're expanding, that you're moving beyond the version of yourself that was defined by those old limits. If you avoid it, you stay the same. If you move through it, you grow. And growth doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small moments, when you choose to try instead of hold back, when you speak up instead of staying silent, when you take a step forward even though you're not completely sure how it will turn out. Each of those moments weakens the hold your limitations have on you. Over time, something powerful begins to happen. The things that once felt impossible start to feel achievable. The fears that once controlled you start to lose their intensity. Not because they disappear completely, but because you've proven to yourself that they don't define what you're capable of. And that proof matters. Because confidence doesn't come from thinking, it comes from experience, from showing yourself again and again that you can move beyond what once held you back. This is why your morning matters, because this is where you decide what you're no longer carrying. This is where you consciously release the thoughts that keep you small, not by ignoring them, but by replacing them with something stronger, something more aligned with who you want to become. You remind yourself that your past does not dictate your future, that your previous limits do not define your potential, that just because something felt true before doesn't mean it has to stay true now. And you carry that mindset into your day. So when those old thoughts try to come back, and they will, you don't fight them with frustration. You meet them with awareness. You recognize them for what they are, outdated patterns that no longer belong to you. And instead of following them, you choose differently. Because letting go of limitations isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. It's something you reinforce every time you choose growth over comfort, possibility over doubt, action over hesitation. And the more you practice it, the lighter you feel, the freer you become. Until one day you look back and realize that the things that once held you back no longer have any power over you. Not because they disappeared, but because you did. What if the confidence you've been waiting for isn't something you find, but something you build? Not in one big moment, not through a sudden breakthrough, but quietly, steadily, in the small choices you make every single day. Because real confidence isn't loud, and it isn't instant. It's earned. It's created through consistency, through keeping promises to yourself, through showing up even when it would be easier not to. Most people think confidence comes first, that you need to feel ready before you act. But it's actually the opposite. Confidence is the result, not the requirement. It comes after you take the step, after you push through the doubt, after you prove to yourself that you can do what you once avoided. And the more you do that, the stronger it becomes. Building inner confidence starts with something simple: honesty. Being honest about where you are without judging yourself for it. You don't need to pretend to be perfect. You don't need to hide your fears or ignore your weaknesses. In fact, real confidence grows when you face those things directly. When you say, "This is where I am and I'm willing to improve." Because confidence isn't about thinking you're better than everyone else. It's about trusting yourself, trusting that no matter what happens, you'll figure it out, that you can handle challenges, learn from mistakes, and keep moving forward. And that trust is built through action. Every time you follow through on something you said you would do, even something small, you strengthen that trust. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, effort over excuses, growth over comfort, you're sending a message to yourself: I can rely on me. And that message, repeated enough times, becomes the foundation of real confidence. But here's where it gets challenging, because your mind will test you. It will bring up old doubts, past failures, moments where things didn't go as planned. It will try to convince you that you're not ready, that you're not capable, that you'll fall short again. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can listen to that voice and stay where you are, or you can act anyway. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's the decision to move forward despite it. It's choosing to trust yourself even when part of you feels uncertain. And every time you make that choice, you weaken the hold that doubt has over you. The truth is, no one starts off fully confident. Everyone you see who carries themselves with certainty, who speaks with clarity, who takes bold action, they built that over time. Through repetition, through effort, through moments where they didn't feel ready but showed up anyway. And you can do the same. It doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require having everything figured out. It just requires willingness. Willingness to try, to learn, to grow, to keep going even when progress feels slow. Because confidence grows in the process, not at the finish line. And this is why your mornings matter so much. Because this is where you set the tone. This is where you remind yourself of your capability before the day has a chance to challenge it. This is where you choose to speak to yourself with strength instead of doubt, with belief instead of hesitation. You don't wait for the world to validate you, you validate yourself first. You remind yourself that you are capable of more than you've shown so far, that your potential isn't limited by your past, that every new day is an opportunity to take another step forward, no matter how small. And then you back that belief with action. Because at the end of the day, confidence isn't built by what you say, it's built by what you do. It's built in the moments when you could quit but don't, when you could stay silent but speak, when you could hold back but choose to move forward. Those moments add up. They create evidence, and that evidence becomes belief. So don't underestimate the power of small wins. Don't overlook the value of consistency. Every step you take, every effort you make, every time you show up for yourself, you're building something that can't be taken away. You're building inner confidence, and once that foundation is strong, everything changes. You stop second-guessing every decision. You stop seeking constant approval. You stop letting fear control your actions. Not because fear disappears, but because it no longer decides for you. You do. So as you move through today, carry this with you. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to start. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next step. Because confidence isn't waiting for you somewhere in the future. It's being built right now in the choices you make.